Hey everybody, what's up? Friday. What I want to talk about today is what happens when I get it wrong. Now, let me put that in context because since I understand MMT and I understand the effect of policy on economies and markets, I really don't get it wrong other than to say there will be times when the crowd, the herd, the zombies will perceive a policy event or something of that nature in a flawed way, in an erroneous way, and they will react on that. And for a time, my position may be wrong. Currently, let's say we're talking about the dollar. Recently, I would say, it has not been wrong overall because I started basically selling the dollar when the dollar index was up around 103. But let's just say that for the time being, the last 5 months or so, when the zombies, the herd, the crowd are reacting in a particular fashion, and we know this to be true, right? This is not some hidden secret because we see the market behavior whenever there are fears of rising interest rates, whether that comes from a Fed official's mouth or whether that's just in the markets when traders look at bond yields rising, they buy the dollar. So this is kind of a built-in but erroneous understanding of rates and exchange rates, of interest rates and exchange rates. So let's say we're in that situation. Under that situation, or there can be another time, or let's say another condition where I would be wrong. And that's where policy has changed over the course of time when either the initial policy was put on or some other new policy, something overriding, comes into effect. Now that could happen too. I don't proclaim to know the future with 100% certainty. I can predict the future of economies and markets based on policy, but I am not inside anybody's inner circle in terms of policy formation where I know, hey, they're going to change direction or they're going to implement new policy. I don't know that. So, I mean, there can be times when that happens and it can affect the outlook. So what happens in those times when I am quote unquote wrong? That comes down to position management. It comes down to mental game. These are things, mental game, of course, you know, I talk about that all the time. That's no secret. Okay, that is the key ingredient, the key element to success, bar none. I've said it a million times. I could throw darts at a dartboard and make money. You can't. Maybe some of my subscribers and followers can now who have been with me for a while because they have developed a very strong and resilient mental game. But many of you don't have that, nor do you endeavor or seek to develop that. I see it because you are in search of the system fairy. You are of the belief that there is something out there, some system, some fairy who is going to pick you up and carry you across the finish line in a ball of cotton without any discomfort, without any stress, without any anxiety, with never having to experience a bad situation. Or if you're in a bad situation, it is as simple in your mind as taking a very modest little stop loss and then on to the next profitable trade and so on and so forth. Now, of course, that is fantasy, but many of you choose to believe that deeply held belief, and I will allow you to have that. I am not in any way attempting to take that away from you. I believe that people rise to their own level of commitment, their own level of determination, and they rise to their true selves. Okay, how many times have I said that trading will expose your true self? It doesn't always expose it to you, the person, because many of you do not want to hear that part about your true self, but you will go on muddling through at best. In most cases, you will lose. I remember when I was a floor trader, new guys used to come on the floor and they'd last about 6 or 8 months, and then they'd go back to whatever their old profession was. Maybe they were accountants, or maybe they were, I don't know, whatever they were doing before, they would go back to it, because they were not able to handle the ups and downs. They didn't have that control over themselves. They didn't have the determination. They did not want to face the discomfort. At least that's what they thought in their minds, that only this arena of trading brings discomfort. But you have that in life, and many people choose the path of avoidance. Anyway, I'm getting off track here. How do I manage that? Well, I'll give you a concrete example. The Turkish lira. Now, as you know, back in August, over the summer, we had that very, very sharp spike down in the Turkish lira when Trump announced sanctions against Turkey because of the whole situation with the U.S. pastor that was being held in jail over there. And he applied sanctions. And the Turkish lira plummeted, and it was all over the headlines. And I said, buy the Turkish lira, and it kept going, and it kept going, okay? My price in was, I think, around 5 to the dollar. It went way up above 7. Huge drop. In one day, I think there was a 40% or close to a 40% drop in a day, or over the course of a couple of days. And it looked like a bleak situation. The velocity of it, the magnitude of it. It's rare that you find something like that, even in currency markets where central banks are implementing policy which is adverse to the currency, where they think it's going to help it. I've been over this a million times too, where I said central bankers are zombies with unlimited pockets, and they could screw up in an unlimited way. But proper management of that position, selling up in the 7 area to the dollar, the Turkish lira has retraced all of its August losses. All of it. The entirety of the August loss, and my average allowed me to exit that with a small profit. All right? That's what you do. Number 1, you don't get emotional. You keep cool. You employ mental game at all times. Number 2, you fade panic. You go against panic. And number 3, you do not overextend yourself. A lot of people here, they overextend themselves. They said your approach doesn't work. It doesn't work for people who are impatient. That is correct. Remember that great line by Warren Buffett. The markets are a mechanism for transferring wealth from the impatient to the patient. And that's what I do. I sit here patiently. I've had people say, Mike, when is it going to happen? How long do I have to wait? How long? Mom, Dad, when are we going to get there? That is childlike behavior. Success requires patience. And if I have to wait 4 or 5 months in a lifetime of trading, is that such a big deal? Warren Buffett said he doesn't even buy a stock that he does not think he can hold for 5 years. All right? Are you going to argue with him? The guy's worth $80 billion. He never invented anything. He never created the iPhone. He never built an industry or a company. Buys stocks, undervalued. He said, I won't get in a stock unless I feel I can hold it for 5 years at the minimum. The Turkish lira has recouped all of its losses. And by the way, those sanctions are still in effect. Yeah, Turkey gave up the pastor. They let him go, but that was just recently. That was like last week. That reversal in the currency, that has happened over the course of time since August. I had a guy here. He used to be a former subscriber. Ran away. He quit. Couldn't handle it, right? In search of the system fairy once again. The endless search. Posts up some comments here. What about your Turkish lira? Well, what about my Turkish lira? It's fine. I made money on the trade. Folks, I don't know what else to tell you. I do not know what else to tell you. It is all in your behavior. And I see the comments posted up here. By the way, anybody, I look, I'll be honest with you. I subscribe to many, many YouTube channels. There's a lot of good information out there. There's a lot of good news out there. There's a lot of people with very interesting insights and opinions. And I like following those people. I don't post up. I got better things to do with my time. Now, once in a while, I might post up something of an agreement, but I rarely, if ever, post up anything that is negative, because I just feel like, why bask in the negative? Why get mired into and sucked into a negative frame of mind? What does that do for me? Think about, you don't have to follow the channel. You don't have to follow the channel. So it is a reflection of a lack of self-esteem. Those who follow, who look to learn and gain something, that's a positive. So that's what happened to the Turkish lira, my friend. That's a weak person, a weak person. You got to be strong, not just in this, you got to be strong in life. Weak never succeeds. How do you get strong? You take hits over and over and over again. Resistance builds strength. You ever work out? You lift weights? Resistance builds strength. Exercise. You got to exercise the mind. You got to develop calluses on your mind. Your mind and your emotions have to constantly be tested and faced with resistance at all times. We call that emotional or mental discomfort. That is a good thing. When something like that is happening to you, you should be happy. You should celebrate that. You should embrace that. The fight or flight syndrome response, and it's the flight response that many of you have. You want to run away from it. That is the wrong response. That gets you nowhere. Nowhere. You go into it full force, head first, and with open arms, embracing it and say, bring it on. Is that the best you got? Bring it on. And you laugh at it. Ha, 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 ha. Bring it on. That's the best you got. That's what I do. That's what I do. All right. Friday. Have a great day. And if you don't hear from me, have a great weekend. And by the way, remember, Mondays are when the MMT Trader Report comes out. Don't forget, sign up for a 30-day free trial. Go to pitbulleconomics.com. Get all the back issues and start reading them over the weekend. You'll get the new issue on Monday. Take care. Bye-bye.